You forgot a payment. Maybe it was a genuinely busy week, maybe the bill simply slipped your mind, and you only caught it a few days later. It feels like a tiny mistake, the kind that anyone could make. But in the world of credit, a late payment is not treated as a small slip at all. It can leave a quiet mark on your record that lingers far, far longer than the brief moment of forgetfulness that caused it. A late payment simply means you did not pay at least the minimum amount due by the due date listed on the bill. Lenders track this behavior very closely. Once a payment crosses certain time thresholds past that due date, the lender is allowed to report it to the credit bureaus. From that point forward, the late payment becomes a permanent part of your credit history, visible to every future lender who looks. This matters because payment history is usually the single biggest factor in a credit score for most people. Lenders really care about answering one core question: do you pay back what you owe, on time, consistently, over and over again? A late payment quietly answers that question with a no. Even one single late mark can pull a score down noticeably, especially if your history was otherwise completely clean. Here is how it works in practice. A missed due date does not instantly hit your credit report the very next morning. There is often a short grace window first. But once a payment is significantly past due, commonly somewhere around 30 days, the lender can choose to report it. And the longer it stays unpaid after that, the worse the mark becomes, with 60 days and 90 days past due being progressively more damaging. Imagine you have years of perfectly on-time payments, and your score is sitting comfortably healthy. Then one single bill gets forgotten and is reported a full 30 days late. You pay it the very moment you finally notice the mistake. But the mark has already been recorded on your file. Your score can drop by a meaningful amount, simply because a long, spotless record now has one visible interruption in it. The most common mistake is assuming that finally paying the bill late will fix everything completely. Paying it does stop any further damage from happening, and it is absolutely the right move to make. But it does not erase the late mark that was already reported to the bureaus. The debt itself is settled, yet the record of the lateness stubbornly remains. People are often genuinely surprised that catching up does not reset the history. The hidden cost is just how long that mark can last. A reported late payment can stay on your credit report for years, often around 7 of them. Its actual impact on your score does fade over time, especially as you keep adding new on-time payments, but it does not vanish quickly. One single forgetful week can quietly sit inside your credit file for most of an entire decade. Think of your credit history like footprints pressed into fresh cement. Most days you walk across the surface smoothly, and it stays perfectly clean and unmarked. But a late payment is like a footprint pressed in while the cement is still wet. You can keep walking carefully afterward, and you absolutely should, but that one particular mark hardens in place and stays clearly visible for a very long time. Here is a second key idea worth understanding. Not all lateness is treated equally. A payment just a few days late, caught and paid before it is ever reported, may cost you a fee but never actually touch your credit. A payment that reaches 30 days late is a real credit event. And the more recent any late mark is, the more heavily it weighs. Both timing and severity genuinely matter here. Say 2 different people each have exactly one late payment on their record. One of them happened 5 years ago, now buried under years of on-time payments since. The other one happened just last month. The recent one will weigh much more heavily on the score, even though both are technically the very same kind of mark. Lenders care most about your recent behavior, because that is what predicts your near future. Beginners often think a late payment can simply be removed just by politely asking for it. Sometimes a lender will agree to a goodwill removal, especially after a long, clean history and a genuine one-time slip. But this is only a request, never a right. It is not guaranteed in any way, and it should never be your actual plan. Prevention is far, far more reliable than removal ever is. There is an emotional side to all of this too. After a late payment, some people feel a wave of shame and start avoiding their accounts altogether. That avoidance is exactly the wrong response to have. Ignoring the account only makes a second late payment far more likely to happen. The healthier mindset is to treat the slip as simple information, calmly fix the system that failed you, and then move forward. A practical rule is to automate at least the minimum payment on every single account you hold. Automation does not replace good budgeting, and it never should. But it builds a reliable safety net underneath you. Even during the most chaotic month of your year, the minimum still goes out on time, and your credit stays protected. You can always choose to pay more by hand, but the floor is handled without relying on memory. Avoid relying on memory alone to track all of your due dates. Avoid letting a single account go completely unwatched just because the balance on it happens to be small. Avoid the quiet trap of carefully paying everything else while one forgotten bill slowly ages toward 30 days late. And avoid panicking and then ignoring a missed payment, because the longer it just sits there, the worse the mark becomes. A better habit is to build yourself a simple, reliable payment system. Set automatic minimums on everything, add calendar reminders for the full amounts you want to pay, and do one quick weekly check of any upcoming bills. The goal is not to be perfectly disciplined through sheer willpower. The real goal is to build a structure where a busy or forgetful week simply cannot turn into a lasting credit problem. Over the long term, consistent on-time payments are the quiet engine that drives good credit. Each one you make adds to a steady pattern that lenders genuinely learn to trust. A single old late mark, surrounded by years of proven reliability, slowly loses almost all of its power. Your credit is really less about never making a mistake, and much more about the steady weight of doing it right, repeatedly. So here is the short version. A late payment, once it is reported, becomes a part of your credit history. It can lower your score, it can quietly linger for years, and simply paying the bill afterward does not erase the mark itself. Recent and severe lateness hurts the most. The reliable defense against all of it is a system that pays on time without ever depending on memory. A late payment is not the end of your credit, but it is a clear reminder of just how much timing truly matters. The lesson here is a gentle one: build structure, not shame. Automate the minimums, keep a close watch on your due dates, and let simple consistency do the slow, quiet work of repair. Credit always rewards the people who make on-time payment a steady habit, not a heroic effort.